Hello, guys. Hi, engineers, friends of engineers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the first episode of the Future Leaders space. And because of that, I'm going to introduce you amazing gentlemen who are going to represent the Future Leaders space. So, my name is Sam Okemwa. I'm a graduate engineer registered by the EBK. And I'm in the process of doing the transition with IK. I had registered initially as a student engineer. So, who are you guys?
We can start.
Okay. Okay, I'm David Kaloki. I'm still in the process of registration with the EBK. Of course, the EK comes after. Currently, I'm still seeking experience in the construction industry, which I'm sure we're going to tackle quite well. And yes, welcome very much to the episode.
My name is Joseph Nguthiru. I have finished my study first in water and environmental engineering in Nigeria University, and now we are doing extra courses for civil and environmental engineering. And then we're going to get the accreditation by EBK. Then we can get the IEK one as well. Yes. But right now I'm in the private sector.
Okay. How private is private?
I was about to ask you.
How private is private? I think what is not public or academia is private. Right now I'm running a startup. It's called Hyapak. We manufacture biodegradable plastics made out of water hyacinth. Yeah. Used for packaging.
What's the goal now? Yeah.
The goal is to solve the plastic waste pollution and maybe also create something for doing away with water hyacinth. But in the same way, you're also creating green jobs and such kind of stuff.
Oh, sustainability.
Yep. In it.
I see you guys are greedy to jump into the deep end to illustrate stuff you're doing and how you're doing it and all that. So, okay, as for me, I would classify myself as being in the private sector as well because I'm also a director in a startup that is doing environmental technology, and we are offering innovative solutions to solve environmental problems through monitoring, pollution alerts, and so things along that line. So besides that, we can always come up with solutions for other problems aside from what we already have. That's why we are innovators.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So what's your major, David?
I'm not an innovator like you guys currently.
You can feel special.
Okay, I'm in the construction currently, so I deal mostly with project management. So you see, like, you have 2 projects, I can manage them for you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
I can take off the hit of you. But currently, I would say, given that I've just graduated recently, I'm still in the making process of, coming up with innovations. They're still in the oven. They're yet to...
In the pipeline.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Okay. This is engineering, the pipeline.
Oh, yeah. The pipeline.
All right. So there is honestly a lot of stuff we can handle, especially for our bracket. When you look at the positioning and the pyramid on our career ladder, we have a few people at the top, a lot of people at the base, and with a lot of people comes a lot of stuff. The students, we didn't graduate so long ago, and I can say there is a lot that has changed, at least from what you can see and what you can see. From an SE, there's a student engineer perspective, to a graduate engineer's perspective now. I think we should start with the challenges that we have faced, and then we start with the bad and go to the good, so we leave this place with a taste in the mouth. True. Yeah. So what challenges really would you say are in the industry that you have faced, or what do you think other people are facing? I'm assuming maybe you went to a group of schools.
Maybe start.
No, you just start. You start.
He did the other stuff, so you can.
Yeah, you start.
Okay. So the challenges, I will say, first, obviously, the lack of jobs.
Yeah.
Well, true.
And the lack of jobs is really interesting because there are 2 aspects about it. So there is the complete lack of jobs. That is the unemployment.
True.
Which is a big thing. But then the other thing that we don't talk as much about is the inadequacy of those jobs in something called underemployment. So underemployment, that's when you get a job for something that you didn't study for, or you might have studied for it, but then
what you get is not commensurate.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest problem in our particular industry.
Yeah.
Where we're getting jobs, but the jobs do not match up to what you did in school. So you are this engineer, you've done like 5 years, and we did like an extra year for COVID, right? So so you've done like all these years, and then you graduate and all that kind of stuff. But then the job market does not give you the rates and does not accept you for who you are. You get like, jobs that don't match up. So unemployment, I think, is the biggest challenge. Then the unemployment, that's like where like there's basically not enough jobs because the government is not hiring enough. The private sector does not also create enough jobs. You see, it's a continental problem because the population keeps increasing, all this number of people coming out of schools, but then not enough jobs being created in the industry. So then that's also one of the challenges, I would think.
That makes me thinking.
Yeah.
For instance, you've brought out two sides of the coin. Do you think we need to add the third dimension, the cylindrical part? I mean, you've talked about jobs not being there and those that are there not being commensurate. How about the third side of the structure in the industry does not necessitate those who are there to create them, but I feel like the space can handle all of us. What's your take?
Yeah, sure, the space can handle all of us. I think Africa as a continent, or even Kenya, we have so many problems that engineering can solve. You see, and that brings us to what we are doing. We're into the innovation space, so we're not like, we came up with our own things, we came up with our own projects, and we found a way that we can implement them in a way that they can be sustainable and also, financially and also viable and all that kind of stuff. So I think maybe that aspect is that because of these challenges, it's actually a solution because for all these challenges that, you don't get enough jobs and then the jobs are not good enough and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's another thing that we should be like ingenious enough to kind of create solutions, basic level. We've seen like examples like Mukuru clean stoves and such kind of stuff. That's like engineering at its basic form of creating products, and the products are going on to help communities.
Absolutely.
We've seen this Dropbox vaccines and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot that engineering can do, but we just need like that extra push for young people to just go out of their way and just kind of think outside the box.
Now, speaking of the push now,
do
you feel like currently we as like the graduates or the recent graduates anyway, we have the mentality that we are, okay, maybe went into school with the thought of you graduate and get a job. Like
in this era.
Okay.
No, I get it. I get it though.
Like the mentality that we went with into, let's say, campus, like do engineering, get a job, you get maybe 100K or 200, I don't know. But then, like the mentality, let me say the mentality currently is we are waiting for somebody to create the jobs. Now, but I have said we need to like push young engineers to bring
to become the job creators,
creative, like to look for problems and solve them, give engineering solutions. Because if it's a personal initiative, then I'm thinking it will be like something that keep on running and running and running.
I think there's a place for that. Maybe that brings me to fault the education system. I don't like blame games, but you was blaming all the education system.
Okay, go ahead.
No, because look, we were taught, or at least I was taught. I don't know about you, but I was taught.
Goodness.
Okay,
go ahead.
Look, we're taught like, finish school, go get a job, and all that kind of stuff. Start a family and all that kind of stuff. Start working and then retire.
Have you started the family?
It's another point to add. Finish school, get a job.
Okay.
And and how much so this was is that we were taught how to write good CVs, we were taught how to write good letters for asking for jobs, how to do. But nobody ever taught us how to file returns for your company.
The financial aspect of it.
Nobody, at least in my school, nobody came to class and taught us, guys, there are not enough jobs in the country. So I need you to start thinking of how you can create your own jobs. And this is how you do it. Create a company. This way, this is how you register a company. Step number 2, this is how you get funding for it. This is how you get investors. This is how you get a product. This is how you get customers. This is how you do this.
Marketing and stuff,
like all that kind of stuff, which I think is really important for people to create their own things. That wasn't taught. But how to get a job, that was taught. applying for a job, how to do an interview, how to sit in the interview. So I think how the education system structured us was for you to go and get employed and not for you to become an employer.
That's quite besides just Kenya, I think the whole continent and the globe has an aspect and a touch of that. For me, the challenges I would say that are in the industry, especially in our niche or space, number one is attacks from neighboring communities.
That's a constant.
Pests and diseases. Pests and diseases. Financial instability. and rapid changes in whatever. All that. Anyway. So.
Oh God. Okay.
My take is, I think we have a deficit in terms of expertise and I wouldn't call them lectures, but rather education on transition.
What do you mean by transition?
Transition, in all scales and aspects. Look at it this way: when you leave high school to university, when you're transiting, there is little to none. I'm speaking for the broader perspective, the community and the population of the youth. There is little education that is given to us on career paths, choosing your niche, getting to understand yourself, and all that. If you're lucky, maybe you come from a household that people kind of understand that, and it's not like it's done extensively. Sometimes it's something just pasted for you to follow. And also maybe something that is taken as prestigious. Another thing is, after you're done with campus, the transition to industry. There is little to none of a place where you would say you've been to and you sat down and you were taken through this and that about the industry.
Like
so
induction.
Like more of exactly what you would call induction.
Though should happen in school, like after school.
Because I think part of it should happen in school.
Because I think it should be like in a way that I'm finishing school because I know what I'm going to do the next week after leaving school. I'm leaving school and then I'm starting to figure out now. I finished school, so what do I want to do?
For graduation.
So I think it should be like right
now
from campus.
When you put it that way, it actually drags me to join your blame game. we would put it partly to how the curriculums are made, because these should be made to combat current issues and also to help us project towards what we think we are going to face or what we are actually going to meet in the industry. Another aspect is, for our generation, most people are very innovative, creative, resilient, and outgoing. So what happens is the transition to industry isn't there as much in terms of, for instance, if you're innovative, you're coming up with new products, new ways of doing the old, new formations of making better processes. There is an aspect of transition to industry that you need as a creator or innovator or engineer in the a new engineer in the block for you to succeed. And that goes all the way from finances, that is inclusive of financing or raising capital, to product development, talk about scaling, talk about networking, building partnerships, and all that. For you to be a all-rounded person, you need a lot of training on this. And sometimes these are very diverse aspects that all that I have mentioned have specific experts to handle each.
True.
So how do you think we can solve that?
Partly, there is a new rise in terms of capacity building from a couple of institutions. The first one is our Institution of Engineers of Kenya. We have ABK. They're constantly coming up with webinars. They're coming up with trainings on how to help people enhance this. But again, the reach is not that much, but it's still a step. What I say by the reach is not that much is because even the webinars themselves, it's not many people who get to know about them. So we need to see how we can get into the grassroots to get to meet our friends and peers, because to be honest, we might be from the privileged category of people who have access.
Not we might, we are.
Yeah, ideally. Yeah. We are in the privileged category of people who have access to some of these resources and human capital and all that you can think of along that line. So think about the people who are deep in the village or who came to the city just for campus, finished and went back home.
Yeah.
They're still an asset to the industry. They have a lot they can contribute to bring change and development, but yeah, you know well that everything that comes after the bat has a contrast
I actually
to
agree
what
with
came
you
before.
because it's something that I've been saying and I've been quite thinking about. In this century right now, privilege is not about having money. Privilege is about having the information. You see, like the fact that you know something is happening, that information is really important because now that's what gives you the network, the capital, and all kinds of stuff you talked about.
When you talk about capital, you know, most of the time, the indigenous thinking would be it's money. But right now, in our age and era, capital could be funds.
More than money.
It could be skills. It could be access. It could be you getting information. So capital is diverse. And when the youth mean they are asking for capital, they don't necessarily need money. They need access, they need tools, equipment, skill set, and all that. So
enabling power.
Yeah, to enable
That's
them.
The word, enabling.
To enable them to transit wherever stage they are at to scale up. So whoever is listening out there, engineers, developers, entrepreneurs,
Please
investors, both capitalists and angel investors, think along those lines of how we can help our generation, because at the end of the day, by increasing the capacity, then we get to scale up. The youths are all-rounded.
Yeah, you mentioned also, you see, apart from capital, they can also help in the induction period, in the process.
Absolutely.
They're literally the experts of this country. So I'm just thinking, what's that one place where you can like induce people into what all that process you're talking about? Because for you to become an engineer, you have to go through the university, right?
But then I'm thinking of something on the same. Like, we're in a place where youth are being used mostly to tick off boxes. You know, let's say we have a conference, we have a seminar, we have anything else. Like, we just put like a side event for youth. So just so that it seems as if youth were engaged.
It's youth inclusive.
Yeah, so it's like youth inclusive. But then we don't put as a core agenda of that thing as the youth thing.
Okay. Again, with these events outside, I mean, you might get the advert that there's any kind of Ike event. What about the money now? I mean, it's not free.
Yeah, because of a thing.
It's facilitation.
The facilitation is not that like as much as it's we are cutting off, you know, the jokers, and also it has to give returns to the organizers. But again,
I would take it this way. Sometimes even the people being helped need to have an extra mile and a push. Sometimes it's internal. You see, besides the activities being paid for, okay, I might appear like the devil's advocate. But so be it. So sometimes, as much as we want things to be affordable, things to be free, things to be given to us for us to develop, there's also an extra push from the inner person that is being helped to develop. Look at it this way. How many times do we pay tens of thousands for road trips? How many times are we paying tens of thousands to buy alcohol? How many times are we financing recreations?
But that's fun. That's fun first.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. No, This is now we're two devil's advocates. This is my point. So, story ni yangu. So here's the point. We spend a lot. We do all things that we need to do.
True.
But when it comes to what matters, and that is very integral in terms of career development. And it's your own career, something that will probably run you, your family, and your generations. We want it free.
Yeah.
Okay, what?
No, agreed, because it's much easier for our generation, someone to go and buy, go and party.
Yeah.
But then it's harder to use the same money to buy books that will.
Oh, by the way, don't get it twisted. We also party. But you're just saying.
But it's much easier. It's much easier to to have a budget for every weekend, spending every weekend to do like parties and all that kind of stuff, than to sacrifice one of those weekends and buy a book that's about budgeting, money, all that kind of stuff, or even to instead of using the same amount of money in partying or something, maybe you use less or even something to just access something that we are now calling capital, these types of events and that kind of stuff that will help you down the line 20-30 years from now. If you look back, that will have been the inflection point in your career, because you met people who then directed you in certain ways. That's my thinking. So I'm also being the devil's advocate here. So
okay, you win.
We
Okay, but now I'm still in the induction part, because I'm trying to look at a place where you'll reach as many people as possible, without that much of a friction from them. Because once somebody has left, you see, once you leave university, everybody goes mostly to their home counties, I think so. So bringing all those people again together, it's a hassle.
Kuna wenye watoki Nairobi.
But the thing is, how can we make it in a way that it is not necessarily for them to go back to their home counties? The thing is,
how to make it seamless.
Yes.
In terms of
because
from school to industry.
No, it is actually a big loss, not just to them themselves. I know we are looking at it.
Even to the country, it's a whole investment. The country invests billions every year into education.
In you to go to primary school, invests in the schools, invests in the teachers, for free primary, a lot of that exists. The country then invests in you to transition to like right now, it's junior secondary and then senior secondary, all that kind of stuff.
CBC.
Don't talk much about that. You understand nothing about it.
But the thing is,
no, I get you.
They invested in us, right?
Yeah.
And then if you go to technical schools, they will invest in that too, right? If you go to university, then they'll invest in that too. There is help. That's also an investment. Like the kind of investment that gets you to graduation throughout your whole academia life. We're not talking about anything else.
When you talk about help and you call it an investment, and there's someone who is paying the help.
But
they might not try with you.
No, but the thing is,
I get you though.
The government committed money for that.
Absolutely.
So I think it's actually in the government's best interest for them to have
career
a scenario
development
where these guys will not disappear and they will,
for its citizens to have the best skill set to do works that can be termed as developmental.
That's the only way we can increase our GDP in the country internally without us having to go and borrow and take all those kind of loans. Because I'm looking at a scenario where if we in our classes, right, your school, my school, and all that kind of stuff, if my classmates and also the other guys got educated all that much, right, and then they were fed into a system where their skills were used to grow the country, it's a return on investment. It's an ROI. But right now we are looking at a scenario where the government is just chucking out a lot of money. Our parents as well are also chucking out a lot of money and not necessarily getting enough
returns from
so that's why I'm looking at it like we need, as much as we're investing in education, we also need to invest in that what you're talking about, induction right from school, right? And the thing is,
before school, like even inside.
Inside school,
like a curriculum, something like
because you should not go back up country after school. It's sad.
No, you can go back as an RE.
To do development. You go back to give development, but don't go back to see.
I get you.
We need to be in a place where we can create solutions and stuff, because that's the only way we also prevent brain drain. Because right now you get, let me tell you what's sad. Unfortunate actually, the fact that we finish school and then my classmates, whole engineers, extremely best in whatever they're doing, they get into academic writing.
Academic return for life.
It is good because it's giving them money, but if you look at it very well, it is quite sad that
the level of expertise,
the level of skill set that this person has, and you're like bringing them down to do academic writing, which right now is being done by AI and ChatGPT. It's really sad. And the fact that we we are not creating an environment for them to transition to something that is better. And the other alternative is for them to go and get jobs in Saudi Arabia and other places. It's really sad.
When you talk about sadness, it brings me to another aspect of a challenge we have in the engineering faculty, and I think it cuts across like from universities in the city to universities away from cities, and that comes to
our universities away from the city.
Yeah. And that brings me to drug use. There's a lot of drug use in our faculties, and it affects us in many ways, right from absconding school to dropping out to judgment, to low performance, and a number of issues. So I can see when I mentioned that everybody has gone low. Anyway,
I mean, it's an issue.
But it's an issue. It's not spoken as much. But it's an issue.
Yeah,
it
you
is.
have to address it.
No, actually, in our university, Egerton, so they had this thing when I was, I think, in second year that year. I can't remember. They called us engineers, the school administration. So they had us like in a room. And then they were talking to us about drugs because they realized they did their own thing, and then they realized that engineers were actually the guys who were taking alcohol the most out of other, like,
they were running the business.
The percentage probability of you getting a drunk engineer is higher than you getting a sober one.
Goodness.
It was actually a problem in campus that they had to, guys.
But guys. So, guys, I want to report that since they held those sessions, there has been a tremendous improvement, and we don't have any more drunk engineers in that school. Thank you.
Thank you, Gatton University.
No, but I think actually it's a very serious problem.
No,
to be true.
You say I will attribute some of it might be like youth and all that, which is it's fine. It's a seasonal thing. It's a stage in life. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm also saying it's good, but it's something that should be done in moderation right? But then some of it that has consistently taken over also past campus might also be about desperation. I would actually think of a solution right now. What if we had an incentive whereby companies will pay less tax if they will pay less tax if they absorb interns from these institutions? Like, what if the government did away that instead of you paying like 16% tax or something, what if you did like a 10% tax so that you get 6% back to you, and instead of you using that 6% for taxation, what if you use that money for you to pay interns and for you to pay attaches and graduates out of school? That's something that could work.
Okay, all right. Intern for 10 years.
No, that's fine. But like it's a yearly thing, and you have to report to us, and that's one of the ways where we can reduce the.
I
think it's something that could structure.
Yeah. This is where we are innovators. Yeah. While I was thinking what I was thinking is what you were thinking, I realized whatever you were thinking was different, and now this is my thought.
Good.
That tax cut could come if the companies could actually account or have real-time stats on what they're helping to help people standardize their drinking habits or drug use. Because what's the essence of just indicating on a package that this drug kills, or it's not for persons under use of this age, blah blah blah, and all that, but do nothing beyond that? At the end of the day, it's like
this is poison, but don't take it.
But here it is all the same. All the same. Here it is, and it's fun. So at the end of the day,
and this is an advertisement of somebody using it.
Yeah. This person using it looks very energetic, happy, vibrant, but they're telling you it's killing you. But here it is all the same, and they don't care on the stats of how you use, when you use, where you use, and all that.
True.
You see, there might be these regulations out here on time for clubs and all that, but at the end of the day, there's little to no accountability beyond that. So at the end of the day, it's a contradictory issue. And maybe we jump into a little bit of why students are using drugs.
Yeah, why?
And engineers are the center of it, I would say, because and everybody who's watching this
in the field, we've seen it in the school.
You know what's
it's
funny?
In the field, it's in the.
What's funny? During my first year,
I'm categorically using drug use because it's not just one type of drug.
It's
multiple.
I remember in my first year, my roommate was like, engineers are so drunk. I'm giving you like 3 years and you'll start drinking. I was like,
So it's 3 years.
So I was like, leave alone even 3 years. Like the fact that engineers are not like in the university, they're not to be like drug abusers.
The serial.
No,
yeah.
You can't say engineers are serial drug users. You could even use a word like partyholics.
Yeah, so that's so true. Yeah.
So like that gave me like, what do you mean, like in the whole university? The fellow actually was the fellow first year. I was like, you've just got into the school at the same time, and you already know that engineers are like, they are the, if you rank schools,
they're
the top and they have the least students. Actually, I think they have the least number of students.
But also don't forget the smartest.
Oh yeah, the smartest.
Yeah.
So like then there's that correlation. Maybe it's the
Get
pressure.
your flowers when you're alive.
Maybe it's the pressure, academic pressure.
Maybe.
But again, most of the people in engineering, they come from, maybe they were forced into it, you never know. Like there's that mental.
I think it's maybe what kind of role models are we building for the engineers? Because if I had a role model, or if I had a coach who is also an engineer, right? And let's say back to your mentorship point, right? And the induction thingy. If I had a role model, if we had a system where we had role models in school who are engineers and are like maybe on a ratio of 1 to 1 or 1 to 2, you know, like I had a one or maybe we shared, and this person was like, there's no one perfect, but if he was in a way that he could show me that things that don't add up in life, things that wouldn't add any value to my life, versus things that will be valuable for me, maybe that's something that I will look and I'll be like, no, I don't need to use alcohol to look cool. If this guy is my mentor and he's like really good and he's made it in life and he doesn't have to, you see. So
since you guys have decided to take a third party approach
Okay.
from the whole idea, I will take a first hand.
Okay.
I hang out with my friends, and I'll be honest with you. Let's start here. The hype around drug use and how it's done,
and advertised.
The hype, it's fun.
Yeah,
I will agree, it's fun. Because most of the time it's around music joints or places. Maybe you're out there living life. I would agree, it's fun.
Oh, yeah, plus they used to sponsor all the fun activities in school.
So after the fun, or besides the fun, comes another aspect of peer pressure. Trust you me, it's a whole weekend where maybe classes have ended on Thursday. You've gone to do your engineering from Nakuru or Eldoret or Mombasa.
Yeah.
You came from home in Muranga, Kajiado, or wherever you've come from. I mean, at the faculty we are metro.
Yeah.
It's like a metropolitan small caucus.
Yeah.
So it's really fun and outgoing, especially for people who are adventurous, because you would want to try out.
And the accessibility is like...
The accessibility.
It's it is actually
when you even say accessibility, it becomes too hard. It's just at the doorstep of your house and outside the university.
So accessible. It's actually easier
and
cheap actually for a classmate of yours to buy you a beer or alcohol or something than for them to pay for you photocopy.
Trust me. If you go into a hotel hungry, you'll come. And you don't have money, you might come out hungry. But if you go into a club broke, you'll come out drunk. So there's that aspect too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've decided to take the first hand approach because I go out with my friends. And I understand a little bit of I wouldn't claim to know everything, but I understand a little bit of the dynamics that revolve around it. There is more to it. Yeah. Sometimes I wouldn't lie to you guys. The things we learn, our curriculum, sometimes it's stressful, and some of our guys are going through depression. At some point, I might have considered myself. I was depressed, not really because of
depression
the books, but the whole university ecosystem.
Yeah.
However, if people in the industry who are now successful can come together, institutions, and try to see how they can help combat some of these issues at their own level. At the end of the day, we might have a healthier engineering ecosystem, both before, during, and after school. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this thing that you're the sum choices of the decisions you make in life.
Absolutely.
Like, you're where you are today, seated in this chair, because of a decision you made a couple of years back. But then something else, and then a butterfly flapped its wing, and then you got here. Yeah, it's a
Ongeza huko alisti ya wahenga.
No, so I think, and maybe that's what comes back. I think we're coming back to like the same conclusion kind of thing, that we need a systems where we can get better coaching, mentorship, induction, whatever you want to call it, from school level, from the right people in the right places.
Yeah, we're coached so much about calculus, about water management, about construction, metals, materials, and all
BS
that.
codes and Euro codes.
But little to none of the social aspect. And that is
life.
something we also suffer in the field in terms of sitting at the big table. Most of the time, we're an industry whereby our activities are, I would say, are manned by people who are not in our industry. The decisions that are being made, talk about political goodwill towards the investment into the projects that we take, we are part of.
Even at a basic level, because I think you bring a very strong point, and I wanted actually to talk about it. We are taught all those kind of stuff, calculus, jargons, and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Fourier equations.
Oh my goodness.
Transform series.
That's very important.
But on the basic stuff on social life, I'll take an example of communication. You will get away that we also have like engineers who are doing like extremely exciting stuff out here.
Absolutely.
Like innovative stuff that blows your mind. But they're not taught in a way that they can communicate whatever they're doing. You see, we've met innovators who are engineers, right?
Yeah.
But they're doing crazy stuff, and they have no right ways of articulating what they're doing. Because no one taught them how to communicate, no one taught them how to bargain for the best deal
And
that
to
you want
stand tall to demarcate their space.
Exactly, how to present whatever you're doing. So, and maybe that's why other fields kind of are taking advantage of the engineers, because they're like, you're an engineer, you can't communicate, so let us do it on your behalf. You're an engineer, you can't project manage. Okay, the next version of this guy.
You guys.
But here I come. Let me manage your site for you. Let me manage your project for you. Actually, let me become the PS for you. Let me become the CS for you. Because nobody taught you how to do politics.
And in the process,
here I am, and I can negotiate.
And in the process, they become conmen.
Exactly. And that's why you get so many. I don't want to call them bad players, but in the industry, you have all these
brokers and deal brokers.
Exactly.
There are a lot in our industry. We have to accept it.
Yeah, we have to accept it. Because right now you go to a construction site and all that kind of stuff. At the top of it all, the decision makers, they're not engineers.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You would find
but
that even in that construction industry, you'd find that there are very many powerful foremen who are more powerful than even the engineers who are doing the designs and the structure.
And they call the shots.
And they call the shots, From finance to management, scheduling of jobs and everything.
So I think that's something that we're not doing enough of in engineering. We're not teaching people things that are outside the core engineering space, and these are things that will actually apply in real life.
So the Gen Z are coming into the industry and they're saying to change that to the bank.
Maybe that's a role that IK can play. Identify this like construction sites. What happens there? Who calls the shots? What do they do? Now take these people, have like maybe mandatory kind of classes in schools, universities, and they're like, as much as we love you doing all this mathematics and all this kind of physics, it's really important for you to also sit down under this lecture that is being done by somebody who is in the field who does this. AutoCAD is good, fine, but then the person who sits on the decision-making seat or that might not necessarily be like your engineer. You want that person to come and tell you, so this is what we will look for, this is what we did, this is what I did last week in the site and all that. Our lecturers are good, yes, but they're not like all of them practicing in the fields to know what happens every day. They're good in books, but not necessarily street smart.
While at it, there's an aspect of credit. Engineers work so hard, but credit goes to politicians. And that comes to communication. Okay, necessarily, when the engineers are doing the work, they don't necessarily need to put out the credit. But again, when you look at how to present the credit, it transfers to your next job. It also transfers to credibility of our career path and our industry. Because at the end of the day, the people who did not take part in a good percentage of the development process, of whatever it is, take the credit and run with it.
Actually, thinking of something cool that we could actually think of, maybe for Ken or Kuro, whoever is listening. You see on those boards that they usually write project name, who's the doing that, blah, all that kind of stuff, and who's financing. Add a QR code at the top. And that QR code will have the names of everybody who participated here.
Like
a cast.
So, and you know what this will do? Like, if it's a good job, all those guys get their flowers. For life. Sure. If it's a bad job, then these are the guys who did a bad job. You know what that does.
But then what about the protection to the industry now, to the company itself? Because again,
but you did the job. It's an accountability.
No, anyway, the name is always there.
It's always there.
But then it's a company name. But instead of us having a company name, let us have a
list.
Individuals. Let us have the engineers. And you know, I can always brag. For example, I didn't, but I could say that I constructed the SGR.
I get the point. You wouldn't want your name to be at a place whereby you know you're going to do a bad job.
Exactly.
Accountability.
Exactly. So that makes us engineers do a good job, but also makes us proud. You know, let's say whoever, president, governor, comes and opens up that project, and it's like,
the people will know his work was to come with the scissors.
That's
what he did. That's what he did.
But then there was like a whole bunch of people who did this work behind the scenes, who are now like taking all the credit.
He could not cut the ribbon
without these people doing that.
So you put the if else. If you get it.
And maybe that's how we also make engineering fun and exciting, because right now you're highly likely to find young guys, I'm talking about high school level, wanting to transition to other careers that are not engineering, because engineering doesn't look that cool as it did like a couple of years back.
Absolutely.
Because right now you're just,
Man, so when you look at it from that young age, the SUVs, man.
Engineers go with
SUVs. No, that is motivating.
The helmets, the reflectors, and the vehicles.
And the sun hats in the SUVs,
and telling people, do this, go there,
run there. I think David had something to talk about.
Yes, I was thinking. Not everybody maybe might want to like lead something, or and those who are like more technical,
true.
They might be quiet,
but the best designers.
But they come up with things that are like phenomenal. So now I'm thinking, what if we view it like a society, but everybody's playing their own role? If you're good at communication, because there are people like, maybe the way they were brought up, even if you give them how many lessons, they'll never maybe speak up. There are guys who like, no matter how much, they'll never talk, but they'll design for you something, and they'll be like, I like this.
In the top 500 Fortune companies, a couple of the CEOs are actually engineers globally.
So like,
all about Nairobi Stock Exchange, how many engineers do you have who are leading companies that are there?
Well, it will change.
It will
change. So, my point was, what if not everybody played, like, we encouraged everybody to play their part? There are those engineers, I'm sure, maybe, of course, we might not know them, but if we could come with them, like, to events, let's say, like,
indirectly, you're just saying a step-up revolution.
But then the networking also will help us a lot. Absolutely. Like, from those, there are people in the field, even if they're technical, they're like,
let's speak about networking, actually.
Motivate people who are, like, technical. And then I've remembered something. How do we, because you've spoken about the networking, the social building, but now how do we develop the technical part? Because even if we hold positions of power as engineers and don't have the technical will to innovate, then we'll just be doing what has been done over all those years.
And so how it has been done.
Yes, you're just repeating the same mistakes and just making it bigger. But now how do we come with new things? How do we build the technical capacity?
I love
that went deep. Doing the same mistakes and making them bigger.
2 days ago, at the UN Science Week thing.
Yeah.
Happened to have they had this event, a side event about science, water, food, and such kind of stuff. And among the speakers, a lot of people, high level PS and everyone else, was the director of irrigation, National Irrigation Agency, and he's an engineer as well. Also happened to go to Egerton University.
Goodness. Okay. You are about to tell us you went to Alliance.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
I'm not saying I went to Egerton. It's like, I'm not saying I went to Egerton, but I came from Egerton.
But this guy also went there. Yeah. Okay.
But here's the thing. I actually loved what he was talking to us after the event.
Yeah.
And we just went to her and like, oh hi, yeah, I'm glad about what you said. And he was like, actually, I think there's a gap for young engineers to network with us and us telling them what is in the field and what happens. Because now they're looking at things of, for example, how to... we have all this arable land, right?
Okay, yeah.
Most of the water we have is also rather salty. What do we do about it? Like how can we network with engineers and how can we have engineers getting solutions?
Like too much work that needs to be done on
desalination.
Yeah.
And the thing,
water storage.
Exactly, and that's just one of the examples. And the thing about networking that I'm thinking about is you get so many things that are happening in the field that you wouldn't otherwise know unless you network with somebody who's in the field who's doing something. You see, like I'm in the engineering field, yes, but I've never thought of a scenario where how can we use this salty water for irrigation from a perspective that this guy is the head of National Irrigation Agency and he's thinking of a place where how can we help people in Isiolo, how can we help people in Garissa and also want to have...
Don't you think from our classmates, our faculty mates, don't you think we have guys who have all those solutions?
They are.
Yeah, they have.
Because
the thing about networking...
They might even be here.
No, because the thing about networking, there are two ways. So there's vertical networking.
And
horizontal,
networking. So vertical is, like those big wigs and those kind of stuff, blah, 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 who are ideally not easy to reach out to. But horizontal networking is where this guy is like somebody you studied with or somebody you studied with with my friend or so on. People
sometimes you have to wait for a couple of years for them to develop. For them to be resourceful
but
the way you need them. No, I get it.
Yeah. But here's the thing. That person in a couple of years' time is going to be somewhere where I might need their help or they might need my help. Yeah. They're still growing because you see even those guys were there. They started somewhere. Yeah, and it is you would rather invest in Facebook where it was still something that was created in a dorm room.
Yeah.
You get a lot of equity for a lot of money. Because right now, if you are the guy who studied, for example, with the president when he was in school campus, he will easily pick your call. Then if you just met him right now, that's the thing about the networking. So it's as much as we love vertical, also horizontal. And I think that's where IK can
true.
Okay, I'll just look at some aspect of career growth. The traditional career growth was in a way that you finish school, and even sometimes before you finish school,
the job is waiting for you.
I honestly don't remember having such an opportunity, or rather, classmates of mine who had such an opportunity. Very minimal, one in a million, but in the olden days, it was close to everyone.
Everybody,
So you see, dynamics have changed, and the transition from school to industry is getting tight and tight. Think about it, then we will jump into it. But just before that, I want us to look at the positives.
Okay.
The positives in our field, in the aspect of the rights and spaces you have enjoyed as an engineer, the developments and successes that you have been able to come up with, or what you have seen your friends or people in our era come up with, both in the student category and the graduate engineering space. To be honest, right now, I have seen graduate engineers who are directors, who are heads of departments and all that.
You're one.
So how would you say it from your own space? What are the positives?
The positives.
Because they are there.
I will give flowers to IK first. The fact that you're getting to do this, and the fact that other people also getting to listen to what you're talking about, and also and kind of engage in this same space.
Absolutely.
That's a plus for the industry. It's a step in the right direction because it starts all the conversation at least. Because where there is no dialogue, there is no progress.
Yeah.
That's a thing. So that's maybe one of the first flowers that we'll give. I've met people who are doing amazing stuff like you and you now. And I think there's so much ingenuity and so much exciting things that we are doing also as engineers. Maybe we're not shouting as much, but I've seen so much crazy stuff that we're doing. I've met this...
I think maybe we're not built for sound, we're built for work.
Yeah, but ultimately, you know, Pierre wins. No, you know,
Yeah,
Pierre
of
wins
course.
at the end of the day. I met this engineer from University of Nairobi, and they're using these sensors to track about how bridges are performing. You know, and that's something that is really good. Not getting enough noise.
Yeah.
But if it got enough noise, you can imagine how the impact of that will have not just in Kenya
We
but
had,
around
we
the
had,
world.
we had a similar engagement, by the way, when I was in my industrial attachment. I was at Kenya HQ at Engineer Joan Otike's office, and there were the Japanese under JICA who had similar technology.
The Japanese.
Trust me. No, I somewhere I'm driving to.
Please drive.
Okay. License check. So we have done similar stuff or close to similar stuff. That it's simply about sensors and the real-time transmission of the data. And then now you put in like the modules of formulas whereby this means this.
The data interpretation.
But I'm just trying to break it down as simple as it can be, so that even for other people who are interested in the field or from other fields can understand. So it's not really overboard, but how many solutions like that do we have here? They are minimal, but the positive about that is we have the space. We have the opportunities, and we can do it.
We can do it.
Right here.
And I think we're not giving IK that much credit, because apart from this event, there are so many events that I've attended for IK, and okay, I can name all of them, but let me just say they have been phenomenal. Like you just come out of that, even if there's fun, but you come out of it like different from the way you
Even
went
if
before.
It's just one person you added to your network portfolio.
Let me tell you what.
But it was impactful.
Yes.
Tell you what. So you know they had the Young Future Leaders thing that happened a couple of years back.
Just to mention, we were in the first cohort of the Future Leaders.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we met. And what happened? That was actually one of the very first awards that we got for Hyapak, our startup Hyapak. And it's kind of built on to like a lot of things to where our startup is right now. So like that small, it was, I don't know, like 20K or something, Kenya shillings. Like not a lot of money, but the thing is, like the simple fact of getting recognized by peers in your industry, and they feeling
not
that
a lot of money, but a big step. For
the
time.
But they feeling that you're
doing something
credible
impactful,
and you're impactful and that
That
kind of
goes to
stuff.
what we talked about, recognition.
Recognition, I think we need to have more awards, by the way.
Absolutely.
Even if engineering awards, like best structures awards, best bridge design.
What that does is that it adds up to the self-motivation
Exactly.
that you have.
Perfect.
And the thing about self-motivation is that it's so thinking small is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, if you think you're small, you're going to be small. That's a guarantee.
As a man thinketh.
As a man thinketh, so is he. And the thing about it is that we should have a place where we can build capacity for people to be self-motivated. And when you're self-motivated, you're able to create like extremely exciting things. You can look at what happens in Stanford, in Silicon Valley, and so on. Kids are taught from a small age that you can do it, you can do like this, you can become the next Elon and whatever. Maybe that's why they're doing all the brain drain, because you might feel more motivated when you're working in that kind of environment, that kind of space, than when you're working here. And maybe that's what adds up to them developing better and greater things than us. Maybe.
Okay. And now jumping into the big elephant, that is career growth and development. Somehow, or for some reason, in our era, we're suffering from career development. We are developing in a lot of other places, but somehow. So it can be structured or said to lean towards the present industry and its traits, maybe an evolving policies, maybe political goodwill. But what would you term as an ideal career development progress plan? Or what do you think you want to do in the field to consider yourself as developing positively? And what are the challenges or positives that you have seen people in the field go through? Yeah.
You go first.
It's always a blessing to have engineers in leadership first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because then they're able to make decisions that are then able to impact us positively, and I think that's an added, that's a plus.
Always.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that can happen in career, and maybe we had a way that we could nurture leadership in some way. If we could look over a way that we could get
engineers leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Leadership.
Yeah. Because who said that? Statistically, engineers have. I don't want to self-brag, but engineers have higher IQs and probably, you've gone through the
nature of training technically kind of drives you towards being a problem
solver.
Yeah. You've gone through the school of hard knocks. And the thing about it is that you probably are in a better position to create solutions that, we were just here and we've this conversation has had 5 different, solutions just from just nothing pre-planned and nothing all that.
Yeah.
So I think if we had a way that we could nurture engineers so that they become self-aware in ways that they can make decisions that they can then impact. I would love it to have if we had several governors, maybe see how those counties develop and how they grow compared to the others, and maybe even cabinet, maybe just have 1 or 2. Just see how that goes as a test.
Especially in the integral niches that are engineering based.
True.
And energy,
water,
public works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, such kind of stuff. I think those are areas that we should have engineers domicile.
Even in niches that are focused on policy.
Yeah.
We handle a lot of data, and we need to have policy that is backed up with data.
Like the building code, actually they came up with a lot of engineers.
Yeah.
Speaking of data, I think it will be sad to end this if we don't talk about AI.
Well, I have a startup that AI, and that is on early warning systems.
Tell us about it.
We are doing early warning systems for logging, charcoal burning, that is unsustainable charcoal burning in the forests, in the forested areas. Definitely it's contributing negatively towards the forest cover of the country. And we're also doing early warning systems for forest fires. So by that we transitioned now into smart cities where we're doing monitoring on air pollution, noise pollution, and all that. And we're measuring a lot of parameters from weather to whatever you can think
So
of.
basically data.
Yeah, so you generate a lot of data at the end of the day, and AI is assisting in terms of handling the data and getting to analyze it real time for you. So your work is just to think, place, and wait.
Interpret.
And that's why we also got to work with Konza, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, when the engineers are at the table where the policies are being made, you would be able to come up from an aspect of good judgment in terms of real-time cause and effects in the field. So when you're putting up a policy...
let me cut you short, but do you think we need a unit on AI to every engineering course? And not just AI, I'm not just talking about large language models like ChatGPT, which are really good, but...
In general.
Yes, because I think AutoCAD can be done within seconds.
Yeah.
If you use an AI and told it, look, I have a
Just
40 by 80 and I want to build like a 10
these are the
story.
dimensions. Consider all calculus, all structural designs, all modifications.
And then
I want this type of roof. It's facing north or northwest, and the back door should be
and the water and the electricity.
Yes, wind.
And it should be able to generate all
it should be able to generate. And maybe we can and now then you use your engineering skill set to know like maybe this beam is
Small
and then you just modify this beam and this column and this kind of stuff. And you know what
an advanced stage to do it.
What will work is that we will get engineers so excited that kind of stuff that they themselves will create these systems. Because I think there's a way that we can play, like Africa's been playing catch up to the rest of the world, you know.
So ideally, let me add to what you just said, but
Yeah.
I think in a better way.
Yeah.
What would happen is a lot more engineers now would move into supervision because the design has been done.
Done
It's
already,
not
yeah.
GPT that is going to.
To build, yeah.
So engineers won't lose the job, but the job would be advanced and more handy because now you would be in the field to do what's being
To
done.
actualize.
Implement,
To
actualize,
implement.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it in a scenario where we have been playing catch up with the rest of the world. We did not take part with the agricultural revolution, right? We did not take part in the industrial revolution.
Yeah.
We did not take part in the .com thing.
Yeah.
But AI, this is something that is new for everyone, even like all the engineers and IK, BK, everyone else. They didn't take part in this, you know. But this is where we can like catch up with the rest of the world and also become like.
You know, when you use the word we have been playing catch up. I still feel we're even still in the agricultural revolution.
Yeah, but you see right now, this is a chance where we can create tools that the rest of the world can adopt. The thing is, look at it from this way. If we created the tools that can be used to maybe look at Nairobi, look at where populations are, this is where we have water source, create pipelines that will take water there, and design a way that we can get wastewater from those houses to, I don't know, like recycling or something. Yeah. And AI could probably tell, you know, with kind of a lot of accuracy. And then used to engineering knowledge to now know like this is where we have like better joints, better pumps, better something, better gradient.
Yeah.
And this, if we create a tool, I don't think it exists right now for such kind of work. But if we create a tool that we can use to do that, then imagine a Kenyan tool, a Kenyan AI for that being used by all the cities in the world, metropolitans, decision makers, that kind of stuff. So this is something that actually, the thing is, somebody from art school can never create that.
Immediately after this video, you need to go and patent.
I think so.
So like these are like, so I don't expect somebody from arts or from law school to come up with an AI that can be used to, create columns and beams. They can't.
Yeah, it has to be from the profession.
Yeah, it has to be like an engineer knows what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And if we create something like that, and then other engineers are very strong, we don't have to like import technology where we are at a situation where we can create what we can export.
Yeah.
True.
In the current industry.
Silicon Savannah.
Okay, Silicon Savannah. in the current industry.
Yeah.
We have some agencies that have their demographics dwindling in terms of the younger people.
Oh yeah.
They're quite a number, but we also have the agencies that have actually embraced the demographics of the younger people, and I would say they're doing extremely good in terms of delivering work, both on time and
quality.
Good shape. Yeah. So at the end of the day, how or what do you think should be done to enhance the incorporation of the young people into the industries and to make sure they have a positive trajectory in terms of their career growth?
Good question. You can take it.
It's a deep one.
Yeah.
First of all, there was a question about career development actually before. Yeah. From my personal, because I'm more technical anyway, more than you guys.
Okay.
I would say it's more of
Technical
that
experience.
1%
That 1%.
per day. If you do, for example, I'm just using the list, the one that can go, of course, with the audience. Let's say design a slab, flat slab, let it be waffle, whatever. If you do one week, the other one maybe another. By 1 month or 2 months, you'll be better than somebody who has been in a consulting firm. Because consulting firms, as much as they do a lot of the design, there is more into the software part because you have to be very efficient, less errors. So I'm thinking in terms of career development, you have to do, there has to be that self-motivation and that self-push, personal growth. Not only it doesn't only affect mentally or personal, but also in work perspective. You have to like have your own goals that you need to meet. Yeah, basically that's what I would say from my side,
How we find the work environment. This work environment that we are talking about here is all inclusive.
Yeah.
It has people from all demographics. And sometimes there are policies that we don't feel comfortable, especially for people who are our age and or from our generation.
Yeah.
We want to do things our way. We are living YOLO. The dress codes are not giving. You know those terminologies?
Yeah.
I mean, man, this director is not giving. You will hear someone saying, these guys want us to come to work every day.
So Gen Z
yeah.
And they're not even working the whole day.
Yeah. You have a couple of breaks. Let them compress. We go home early. Don't come tomorrow. Let them compensate my hours and things like that. What do you think can be done for us to have like the best inclusion of everyone, especially from our generation? Do you think we should help the directors with assistance from our generation to help in like decision making, policy inclusion, and things like that?
That would be very pivotal, actually. The inclusivity.
Interesting.
And also the policy should be dynamic.
Because let me give you an example. We had demonstrations in this country. And somehow, for some reason, the security personnel were caught off guard by actions of our generation.
True.
My point is, I saw like how people were conversing. Some were saying, for you to solve the Gen Z problems and issues, you need to have inclusivity of the Gen Zs at the table. Because then you would be able to plan and think like them, think for them, and think with them.
Yeah.
Deep.
So the agencies, directors, generals, CEOs, and top guys,
That's smart.
please ensure to try and have that inclusivity. And
Do you think inclusivity has come to a point where we're just like ticking boxes? Like, we had this conference today, we had youth tick, and that's
But I think, okay.
But the decision makers are actually not the youth.
Okay. But I think that also the aspect, even if, let me say 50%, there's a 50% chance that a youth will come out benefiting from that particular event. Even if maybe they're not we have not yet gotten to the point where they're sitting at the high table, but call it like a milestone.
so in short, you're saying we're
in the journey.
Menu.
Yeah, we're in the journey.
No, we're still in the menu.
Yeah.
If you're not in the decision-making table, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yeah.
Somehow, yes.
Wow.
But we're working hard towards escaping that.
Yeah. We need to push.
So, before we wind up, think about this, the future of engineering. Think about what needs to be done now for us to enjoy what we think we want or don't have.
What can be done for us to enjoy?
What we think we want right now.
What can be done by who? What we can do, or what can be done by
Anybody, any stakeholder.
You've been given a blank check.
Yeah.
It's a blank check.
I'll do this. Maybe I'll give it to you, but for me, I'll address several people.
Okay.
So, what can the government do? What you just talked about, right? I would actually love to know of all these projects that are being done or commissioned for, big industrial projects that require engineering expertise. How many young engineers are included? I know it is wise to have older consulting guys there.
Of course, it's an intergenerational.
Yeah. But how many young? Because the thing is, truth be spoken, sorry to say, those old engineers won't be there to enjoy these roads for long. We and our children are the ones who are going to be taking advantages of all these roads. If we wanted to build right now a metro system in Nairobi, it is us who are going to be taking advantage of it, because the older engineers are going to be retiring very soon and they're going to be going home and they're not going to be taking advantage of that. So how many young engineers are being involved in this? So what I would like to be done, number one, by government, is that I'm willing to wish any project to go on if it does not have young people in a decision-making capacity.
So ideally for skill set transfer.
Yes, and that's the only way we also hand over the baton. For schools, what I like we can do or what should be done, I think there's so much. Curriculum first. Curriculum. We've talked a lot about it, so there's a lot about curriculum. 3 on IK, what I think can be done, step up on the mentorship. Step up on making sure that young people, the same way you talked about like induction and so on, but step up on making sure that I could actually challenge IK. Can IK account for every young engineer in Kenya? what they are doing, where they are, and how they are doing it. And are they happy where they are?
You know that opens a Pandora.
Yeah, it's a Pandora box, yeah.
Because let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. There is another question that comes after that.
Yeah.
Do they want to be tracked?
Exactly.
No, but the thing is,
I'm
if
just
they
thinking
want
out loud.
to, yeah, but if they want to, like, we should be able to say, like, you know, we have, for example, 500 engineers who registered for IK this year, young engineers, right? Of which 20% or this exact number are into highways and such kind of stuff. These ones are in structures.
Tech.
These ones are in water. These ones are in water. And these ones decided to completely opt out of engineering. You know, and why did they? And how can we use the knowledge that these guys are getting, the ones in highways, the one in construction, the one in blah, blah, blah. How can we use their knowledge to better equip the next ones who we shall be taking next year? Not like in the next 5 years, like next year. Because like numbers are continuing to rise of engineers and something needs to be done like super fast.
True.
I will go now to what we can do of ourselves. There's enough blame to go around, so we can also blame ourselves on a lot. One, we should learn skills. There's no shortcut about that. We should learn the skills, because if we don't get the skills, then you're going to be replaced by AI. That's the sad truth of this century. Yeah, so it's a skill-based thing that we must learn. Two, getting the capital that we've been talking about, capital which goes to networking and all that kind of stuff, and knowing the right places to try. The thing is, I think we're in a place where there's information overload. You know, open Instagram. If you want to know what's happening in engineering, you'll find it. You know, if you go to like lots and lots of internet places, you can go to social media and so on. So information overload exists. Try and find what is rightful to you based on where you want to go and what you want to do and what you feel like. Yeah, filters. You know, and that's something that we need to have as a generation.
Not for Snapchat. For content.
I think in my view, depending on the question that you asked, you know, what would do maybe that would benefit more and more, I think I would just say research. That's literally an unexplored field in this. That's the only way actually we can only be hired. Research is anything coming like how do you define research in your
no,
view?
Because for viewers, there are people who research means going to the library and looking at what is working. For others, research is going to the internet, calling people, getting a number, emailing, you know, doing all that kind of stuff.
Okay. From that perspective, then research is more like coming up with new ideas. Actually, it's basically innovation. Research leads to innovation or invention. So if we can focus on that, I think that's the only way we can catch up with the world, even past them. Because if you are competing with somebody on something that they've already made, you see there is that time lapse between when they manufacture and when you get in Kenya. Even if they are here, but by the time we're getting it, they're already advanced. So if you can do like research in a way that to bring that gap close and even pass it, I think that's the only way we can do it, from my view.
Wow.
You handle a lot.
Yeah.
Mine goes into cohesion. I think it's high time we as engineers come together for us to do more. Bigger, better, bolder.
Bigger, better, bolder.
Last one before you do that.
Oh, you can do partnership.
No, for that one. Maybe also as a parting shot.
Yeah.
But on your point and also on your point. And what we also can do is that we need to stop gatekeeping. There's a lot of gates being locked by young people as well. You know, you get opportunities that you
know, the young engineers believe the old engineers are the ones who are gatekeeping.
And
now you're getting
no, like I think there's so many opportunities that young people are getting that are gatekeeping, that are not benefiting the entire generation because we want it to benefit you. Rightfully so, we are a selfish species, right? But also we exist in a community, and if we want, it's a place of rub my back, I rub yours or something. So we need to stop gatekeeping at all costs.
Okay.
Right. Amazing. So one parting shot, and then we can call it an episode. I almost said a day, but an episode.
Maybe we should start from the center. And then triple. Yeah, no.
Ripple effect.
Yeah, triple effect.
Yeah.
Start, please. Oh my god.
Okay.
You know, okay, just before you wrap up.
Okay.
There's an aspect of a couple of engineers are leaving YOLO. And those who are not leaving YOLO are so integrated into like their work. You have a target, you want to transition to PE, to CE, you want to become a fellow, and at the end of the day, sometimes there is the work-life balance. Despite the fact that we talked about a couple of issues that are affecting engineers, there's also the work-life balance.
Yeah.
How do you find it? What is your relativity to your work-life balance, to family life? Both you said horizontal and
vertical. Yeah.
I'm talking about family life, both yours or your family where you come from. Yeah, you can go the horizontal and vertical.
So who first?
Him.
Okay, I think the balance, equilibrium is the backbone of this world, I think so.
Yeah.
From sun to stars to oceans, moon, all that, everything, basically to life. So I'm thinking, if you can have, as much as you are, let me assume somebody is a workaholic anyway. So if you're a workaholic, maybe you should find that balance where from this time to this time, I'm not dealing with work. Even if it's burning down, I'm not dealing with work. Like, this is for family. Because you see, one thing I realize is if you start encroaching on family time, you'll chip on it until there is nothing left. It will just be work life all through. So if there is that clear boundary that's from this time to this time, nothing work related.
Maybe it won't even be work life all through. It will just be work, no life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some say, for me, it's just the boundaries and stick with them.
Wow.
Be strong with them. Enough for them to stick with their own boundaries.
Okay.
Boundaries. So there is one of the best books I've read this year, I think in January. So it's a book by Sahil Bloom. It's called The 5 Types of Wealth. And The 5 Types of Wealth, I think the one that, it's a long book, highly recommending it. One of the things that he mentions a lot is about family being one of the biggest types of wealth that you can ever get.
True.
The reason why you have like all these big families, the Rockefellers and so on, and the Rothschilds, the reason why they're like so rich and so on is because they were able to, you know Chanel, Coco Chanel. So Coco Chanel, the founder of Chanel, the reason why she was able to grow the business and everything else because they were able to include family into the business and teach the business family. Because the other thing about family is that you're able to have continuity.
True.
Yeah. So I know the three of us are at a point where we have kids yet, but like.
Are you sure?
You never know. Exactly. That's a very fair point. Okay. Never assume.
I think, right?
Okay.
But the thing is, like, I think for family, in addition to what you said about boundaries, we have all these balls that we can juggle about careers. We can always shift careers. We can always shift everything else. But family is the one thing that we'll never be able to shift. You can today decide to have like a new set of friends, but you'll never decide to have a new set of father, mother, wife, and all that unless.
The wife can.
But this guy, besides this guy being technical, he's also cheeky.
And that's why I think there's a lot that we can do and that can be done and that we should do.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that family life is well taken care of and well.
I think we need to do like a whole other episode of engineers and family life.
Yeah.
I don't think we can exhaust this.
We can't exhaust it like straight up. For me, I look at it from the aspect of, sometimes engineering school is kind of tough.
True.
Tough in quotes. Tough is relative.
Yeah.
So when you're going to school, you've been sent or you've gone there on directives of go work hard, study, get good grades, be a successful engineer. Sometimes it becomes even hard to even maybe call home or to be having constant and consistent conversations with family, to get to know how they're doing and getting to like have that real-time catch up with your dad. Because sometimes maybe they might even reach a point they're like, are you not supposed to be studying? Or,
why are you checking up on me?
Why are you checking up on me? You might be giving too much info as well on your own. You also want your space, like, this weekend maybe you have your own plans and things like that. However, as we grow older, I'm feeling really old. As we grow older, you get to a point whereby you get to appreciate this more because you realize whenever you are having the intergenerational talks, I'm assuming our parents are from a different generation.
Definitely.
So it's not always definite, but I'm like you will always realize that you get some nuggets of wisdom and direction and a better sense of belonging, because at the end of the day, some things that you are thinking, maybe they're also expertise in other fields, and they get to transfer a thought process, not necessarily like
some wisdom.
Yeah. So when you get thought process of the industry is diverse, but there are some specifics that don't change. And they don't change even across generations. That is basically not having to reinvent the wheel. Then you will have a better space to leap faster as you move forward. At the end of the day, it's also very fulfilling, because when all this comes to an end, you go back to your family.
True.
An example is maybe if you're living in a residential area in a metro area. If you're living in a residential area in a metro area, and it's like mid-December, the third week, and everybody has gone home, and then you remain alone in Nairobi. Trust me, even that sherehe. So, at the end of the day, when all this is done, I think family is at the center stage of engineering progress.
That should be a whole episode about talking about
family is an engineering farm.
Can you take that mic and drop it and mic drop?
So parting shot.
Oh, okay. Okay, what do I say now? Be you. Okay.
Okay. Yes, say it. Okay.
Be you. Be yourself. There are no permanent obstacles in this world. So, if you can imagine it, you can do it. So, all the best
to everyone.
Yes.
All right.
I listened to something, and the more I've been thinking about it, the more I see how true it is. And and the thing is, motivation is short-lived. Whenever you have a really good idea, whenever you have you've heard of a really good thing, you've seen a really good person and you want to talk to them, that motivation to do it is usually short-lived. And the moment you have that motivation, go do it then, there. If you're thinking of something, research about it, ChatGPT about it, do anything that you want to do about it, because the longer you stay, the curiosity ends. The curiosity diminishes with time.
Shelf life.
Yeah, there's a shelf life to curiosity. And I think the reason why we, the two of us, because I know what we do and all that, the reason why we're here is because we always act on the motivation when we have it. You've just thought of, oh my God, let's do this. Let's do it right now. Let's think about it, let's plan about it, let's strategize about it. And that's my parting shot.
Well, as for me, to the young engineers, the existing engineers, colleagues in the field, friends of engineering, one thing engineers don't need a license to build is the future. So, as to it, let's get together. We're always bigger, better, and bolder together.
True.
Cohesion, number one. And number two, let's set our foot to work. And let's do a lot of reconnaissance in a couple of things that we are meant to do. Let's move out there, see what the world is doing, because definitely our brains will not go where our eyes have not gone.
Yeah.
But by our eyes going to where
our brains
need to work, then our brains get to work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we're supposed to wrap up, so they'll do the cut. And thank you for all our listeners, and to the future leaders out there. We are very glad to have been a debut for this, but we look forward to exciting sessions. We look forward to a season whereby we will be doing other field excursions to see what the future leaders are doing out there.
True.
And all the best to everyone who's putting in energy and effort to grow themselves. Let's meet in the future. Peace.
Peace.
Oh, God. Oh.